And joining us now with more on U.S. President Trump's latest comments, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's visit and Israel's impending decisions regarding the war in Gaza, is Dr. Dan Diker, president of the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
So a lot to discuss. Let's start first with the weapons shipment. You know, U.S. President Trump lifting the embargoes placed by the Biden administration and the shipments now finally arriving here in Israel. You know, first I'll say President Trump, unlike President Biden, really showing the world that there's no daylight between Israel and the United States. You know, so should we see this as perhaps preparations by the U.S. and Israel to resume the war in Gaza and perhaps even abandon phase 2 of the deal?
First of all, a very important question. The immediate delivery of bombs that were held up in the prior administration is just the first sign of what I would call total alignment between Washington and Jerusalem, and that Rubio's arrival so close after the Washington summit shows that there's really a continuation of this total alignment. One aspect of this, Liddell, that hasn't been discussed is that in Washington, it was very clear. I understand from our sources at JCFA that both governments understand that Israel is going to return to fighting in Gaza, and there may not be a second stage. And the alternative is to extend the first stage and get back as many live hostages as possible before returning to a wartime footing, because it's very clear Marco Rubio has been saying now for 2 years, consistently, daily, that the Hamas terror organization must be destroyed. I mean, he said it scores of times on the record. And he's also said something very important that I don't think any Secretary of State of the United States has said so clearly, so articulately, immediately after taking office, and that is that the Iranian regime is the source of all subversion, instability, and terror in the Middle East and around the world. You couldn't have a clearer statement by a Secretary of State. So what he has done is to integrate the Hamas tentacle of the Iranian octopus with the head of the octopus itself, which is in Tehran. So you have an alignment strategically as well as tactically regarding the hostages, which Rubio said includes American hostages, not only hostages from many other countries, as well as pointing a very long finger at the Iranian regime. That's total alignment between two major allies, the United States and Israel.
And, you know, speaking about the Islamic Republic of Iran, Trump has said, though, that he would like to try a diplomatic approach. And, you know, on the other hand, we are seeing increased, you know, sort of chatter that Israel might potentially strike Iran's nuclear sites. So what's going on here? I mean, will Israel be able to move forward with any sort of military strike? And what would the U.S.'s role be if that were to be the case?
Well, I think Israel has made it very clear, Prime Minister Netanyahu and others have made it clear that ultimately the time for diplomacy, the window for diplomacy is closing very, very fast and may already be shut. President Trump has been talking about maximum pressure since he left the JCPOA in the beginning of his first term. And clearly, it seems that Israel will let the president take the lead on a maximum pressure campaign, which in the first term, as you remember, basically broke the bank across Iran and caused tremendous financial distress and a lot of restiveness among the Iranian people. I think both countries understand that ultimately regime change will have to come from within Iran, and that maximum pressure, which President Trump means maximum financial pressure. Let's remember, President Trump is the world's leading economic warrior, and that he showed that in the first term that maximum pressure can work against the Iranian regime. At the end of the day, I think that the president understands, and many around him understand, certainly Secretary of State Rubio understands, that ultimately it may be that regime change and hitting Iran's nuclear sites can only happen through military force.
So, Dr. Dan Diker, thank you for your analysis today, and we'll, of course, continue to cover Rubio's visit and any developments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sue.